Hey guys, how's it going? It's Connor Fergus tuning in from door to door to the top floor. Let's go. But just to recap a little bit. So first off, an announcement. We're gonna find some consistency with this podcast. I'm just gonna post every Wednesday around this time between 12 and 3 o'clock every week, just to have some consistency with the podcast. As well as I'll be doing this, pushing myself out of my comfort zone and making a little video clip of the podcast itself. And finally, thankfully, we're on all platforms. So finally, I got on Apple, so I know a lot of people were messaging me and say, "Hey, man." I can't listen. I haven't had a chance to listen to it. I don't use Spotify. So if you have an iPhone like myself, it's available there for you as well. If you get a chance, please take a look. But last week we talked about purpose and why it's important to have kind of a reason behind your goals. And everyone wants good things to happen to them, obviously. But why? Like, what will that do for you? And usually when you answer that question, it really gives you that inner drive, that motivation to to make it happen. And sometimes that's what you need. For me, just to give you an example, for me, the reason why I do things like this and I really want to grow, and if you know me, I'm a very passionate person about my career and just growing as an individual. It's because I want to become the best version of myself, and I want to be financially free to give that to my family, to my mom and to my brother, and any future family that I have. So I'm really trying to set myself up now to get those things in line, so in the future that it's all worth it. And I just wanted to really, I was trying to think about every single week. It's to be honest, it's kind of hard to figure out what to talk about because I have a book of all these cool meetings, and I have tons of notes, and I have things that I go through in my day-to-day life. But I wanted to just really kind of partner the two and talk about something that I'm going through. So just to give you a little perspective, so I left the most recent company that I've been in love with, and I've been doing really well there for various reasons. But so I was doing like outside sales, and now I'm interested in getting into a different kind of environment, into a different role. Right now, I'm going to school and pursuing my education. But in addition to that, I'm interested in getting into technology. I grew up, born and raised San Jose, California. All these huge companies are out here. A lot of my peers and my friends, they're in the technology industry, and they're doing really well. I know my short shirt. I got to go shopping. But yeah. So, and for me, to be honest, I don't know much about the industry, and the sales cycle is way different. It's more through applications, through the computer, where I'm just used to going face to face. Just go, where's the prospect? I'll go right over to him and pitch myself and building relationships there. So it's going to be a new environment, and wherever I get placed, a new environment, a new company, and that comes with a new set of challenges. And I'm thinking about all these things, and it was as I've been going through the interviews and getting challenged, obviously, they'll challenge me with questions and things like that. And sometimes I didn't really have the best answer, but I felt I did well. And, these new challenges that, because I'm very determined, I'm going to make this happen. But there's really two ways to look at it. You can look at it in one, this challenge is maybe a little bit too much. Let me just go back to doing what I was doing or something similar. Or I can embrace the challenge and understand that, hey, everything that you've done before isn't like this. And this is going to be new for you. And it's going to push you outside your comfort zone. And that's what's been happening to me for the past month. I mean, doing this right now, this video is very uncomfortable. There's a difference between speaking in front of the room with a bunch of people that or people that you're going to oversee, or speaking amongst peers, but putting myself out there for the internet for some man or woman or someone to comment and say, "Hey man, your podcast sucks." Like that's possible. And me putting myself out there, that's definitely something I thought about, and it's definitely a little uncomfortable for me. But networking with people and talking to my buddy David, active poet, he encouraged me to push myself and just say, "Hey man, that's really how you're going to do this, right?" So I'm pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, even doing this. But what I was getting to is you can really embrace this challenge, or you can kind of run from it. And I feel that a lot of people do that in their daily life. And that just kind of brought up a meeting that that I was taught that, you know, I think is really relevant to this. So I got my little notepad, whiteboard for you, and I just kind of want to draw something with you. So you can picture your comfort zone kind of like this. Connor's comfort zone. I hope this isn't backwards, but it's like a little dot, right? And this right here represents everything that I'm pretty comfortable with, right? Hanging out with my friends, you know, playing certain sports, whatever it is, you know, things that you do on your day in and day out basis, right? Hanging out with your friends, going out to eat, going to the gym, whatever you do all the time, you're pretty comfortable. That's where this is. But everything outside of this are things that you've never done before, that maybe you've been interested. And so if you relate this, and if you haven't had it, if you know, never seen this before, you've never done this, I challenge you to do this for yourself. You know, if you're trying something new, and you know, there's definitely a psychological process that goes through this. This is a really good exercise. So just to stick on the topic that I'm going through now, and stepping into a new industry, you know, just some things off the bat that are new for me is, first off, is the industry itself. So I'll just say tech. That's something that's new. What else? Let's see. Oh man, yeah. So anytime you're going into a new sales environment, there's going to be something new that you're selling, right? So the new product, learning all the ins and outs about that. A new company means new culture, new people, right? So new culture. And a funny thing that actually is funny that this is a little short is your image, your professional image. Everywhere is completely different. For where I was before, it was strictly like suit and tie, and I love that. I like dressing up, but you know, suit and tie and all of those things. And from what I've seen, and I could be wrong because I'm not in the industry yet, but I will be, is you know, the professional image, right? So from what I've seen, it's more of kind of like a button up like this, but more with like jeans, and that's kind of it, right? And some comfortable sneakers versus dress pants, dress shoes, you know, and it's different, right? So we'll say image. We'll say image. What else? Let's see, I wrote a couple down. Oh, yeah. Nextly is the tool. So I talked a little bit about, it's not face-to-face. I'll be using things on the internet, things like that. So we'll say, you know, CRM tools. I mean, another thing is like speaking the language, like we talked about, you know, when you're talking football with your buddy and you guys both played football, it's easy for you to say all these slang terms with anything, right? Even with your industry. So I'd say like the vernacular, the terminology. The vernacular, I got to learn that. I got to learn the sales cycle. And I talked a little bit about networking. So we'll just stick with that little list there. Right? So once I complete that, and if you look at it, this is kind of what it looks like. And if you can't read my writing, sorry. But yeah, you get the point though, right? I wrote all these things that we just talked about here. And once I kind of master that, right? So, you know, after everything goes, I learn all these things in the first couple weeks. God, that's a crappy circle, but you get it, right? Now my comfort zone went from this little dot to this big circle here. And now I went through training, I do all these things. Now I'm going to go through a completely different, you know, a different kind of uncomfortableness, right? You learn the training, you know the vernacular, you learn all these things. Now the training wheels are off, right? So no more training. God, I have bad handwriting. No more training wheels. Another thing that's going to be new in this environment is when I was doing, you know, a different type of sales before, it wasn't really quota based. I definitely had a quota, but it was more performance based system where, you know, you go out, you hunt, and you eat what you kill, man. So I guess having, you know, more of a strict quota is going to be definitely a little bit different. Quota, I mean, networking at a different level. You know, actually learning how to leverage your network and figuring out where to go. Like, you know, after a while, you kind of know who to go to for certain answers, right? And just learning about that. And the last thing for me, and I touched on earlier, is the competition. You know, now that I'm actually able to play this game and I'm not just standing on the sidelines watching, I'm in the game. Now I got to go and compete. So, and then your comfort zone grows, right? And once I master these things here, then, you know, then the circle grows, right? And as you go through it, the circle will continue to grow, right? But the thing is like when we do something new, something is, I mean, it's gonna push those parameters, right? These things here, it's gonna push these these outside walls, these barriers in our comfort zone. But after a while, and like you've seen here in this little circle, the circle grew, right? And once I do these things often enough, now this can fall into my circle and things that are comfortable, right? But you have to embrace those things. It's easy, to be nervous about it, and it's okay with that. But what's hard is embracing the change and really taking it head on. But the problem that I feel that some people have is, that need, quote unquote, to be comfortable. It doesn't let you get outside of the zone. It doesn't let you get outside of that original circle, right? And the reason that happens is you just want to be comfortable. If you back off, the comfort zone, it's a dynamic, living, breathing thing. It expands and contracts at your will. And, when it expands, the beautiful thing is it's going to build your confidence, your self-esteem, right? You just accomplished something new, right? And that's great from the ground up. And you watch yourself, and you went through the trials and tribulations to get there. But the beautiful thing is that carries on to other endeavors in your life. Like for me, like going residential, doing door-to-door sales, was completely outside of my comfort zone. Like pounding the pavement and learning how to influence someone and have someone tell me no and not wear that on my face all day because some guy said something really rude to me at the door, whatever. But that was super uncomfortable, right? It was in that little dot. But as I grew and learned how to overcome those things, and my comfort zone started to grow, that confidence and that self-esteem trickled into other things that I did. And that can't do it, that I'm not strong enough attitude is just going to hold you back. But an analogy for you to think about is if you can think of your comfort zone kind of like an apartment, right? That you never want to leave. And the thought of leaving, it's going to give you anxiety, it's going to give you panic, and you just really kind of want to sit inside and watch everything from your phone, from social media, quote unquote, watching the news on TV, just, seeing the world around you and seeing people actually go outside of that comfort zone. But you're just going to continue to do the same thing that you're comfortable with. Doing that is going to support the notion that outside of this dot, all of these things, if you continue to let yourself do that, all of these things are continue to be hostile, dangerous, scary, until you let yourself get outside of that comfort zone. But why did we talk about this? The message here, guys, is it's okay to be nervous and scared. I'll promise you, doing this for the second time is very uncomfortable for me. If you didn't hear, my roommate walked in, I had to have him leave last week while I was doing this just because I wasn't comfortable enough. But even that, you can tell my comfort zone is growing just from that interaction. But, trying something new, looking to get a new job, looking for a promotion, trying a new sport, trying a different level of sport, right? Maybe you just got out of high school and you're going into the college level. That's a completely different level. This podcast is outside of my comfort zone. But, embrace that challenge. Take it head on. And the way I looked at it when I was doing residential, and I've looked at really everything that I do now, is no matter what, my comfort zone is what it is. And when I go outside of it and I embrace the challenge and I embrace the fact that it's going to be tough and I'm going to go through some ups and downs, if I embrace it and understand that no matter what, whether that experience goes good or bad, I guarantee if you come in with that mentality, you'll learn something from it. You'll take something from that experience, and you'll be able to use that in your next endeavor. And really, that's what this is all about. Your mindset will change. Your willingness to put yourself out there the next time. It might be a little bit easier to jump outside your comfort zone because you did it once before and it wasn't the end of the world. You put yourself outside your comfort zone, and you didn't. For me, if I never would have done the residential thing, I promise you I'd never be doing this, and I'd never be able to speak and talk to people and do all the things that I'm doing now. But that one time where I was, given the opportunity to run away from it, I didn't. I took it head on. I embraced the challenge. I gave it everything I got, and I learned from it. And that's what going outside your comfort zone is going to do. And that's what's really necessary to grow. And really that's what this podcast is all about. But if you get a chance, and if this speaks to you, and this is kind of if this is something you're going through, with better handwriting, do something similar like this and see what it does for you. See if it gives you a little clarity on what you're going through. But just some stuff that's upcoming and where a lot of these